Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. There's a real long echo in this room. Sounds very familiar. I'm doing the second time. EK, seriously, he's concerned. There's an echo, really? And it's like, no, dude. It's like, I felt like I've said that before today. So this is our second try. EK's worried because, we had technical difficulties there. Some of you may have seen it, but yeah. So I may have to do an abbreviated show today. I kind of feel like abbreviating it anyway because that was specifically the news. So yeah, I had to do the warning again. I'm not going to talk about how hot it was, talk about the weather. How boring is that? So yeah, welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. Hey, can you put up the view so I can point at the... Is it not up? Nah, it's not. So the software updates, man. They really mess with the system, I'm telling you. Anyway, I'm the Madman. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. Appreciate it. I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron. I would appreciate that very much. I also have a Cash App, hashtag Shock Monkey Radio. You can follow me on social media over here at the Nullets on Twitter, Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, and at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. I also have books available for digital download. Check the description to find links to that. I would appreciate it. So, like I said, we're going to do an abbreviated show today, and I'll cover why when we get close to the news worth knowing. But, it was Memorial Day weekend. I hope you had a pleasant Memorial Day weekend. And so I want to talk a little bit about something that happened on Memorial Day weekend. And like many of you, I'm sure you probably had to go out and buy like beer and hot dog and burgers and buns and ketchup and mustard and all that stuff for the, festivities of Memorial Day weekend. And so like many of you, I went to Walmart on Friday and wow, it was jam-packed. There were so many people there that, even a madman like me at Walmart, is going to have to interact with some people. So I want to tell you a couple things that happened to me at Walmart. First I want to tell you I was in the music section, what used to be the music section, and where you used to get CDs and stuff like that. But now, they have vinyls and stuff. And it's been a while since I've been in Walmart. So they have records, vinyl records, that you could buy. And so I'm sitting there like perusing through these records like it's 1982. And I pick up this Def Leppard album. And I'm looking at the tracks on the back, flipping it over, looking at it. And this other guy comes up. He's also got the salt and pepper type of hair. He comes up. He's got three little girls, with him. And he comes over and he looks at these vinyl records like right next to me, reaches over, picks up a Billy Joel album. And I look at him. He looks at me. We glance at each other and we're like, what's up? It's like we were back in time, back in 1982, browsing records in a record store. And, and the kids are like, Daddy, what is that? And he had to explain. It's like, what CDs are? It's kind of like that. It's kind of like CDs, except way bigger and way more analog. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting because, it's, it took me back in time. It took me back in time. A lot of these kids don't know what it's like hanging out in record stores. The best you can describe it as is like kind of like comic book stores are today. You hang out in the record store, you talk about music, what you like, what you don't like. It's awesome. Or you can watch that movie, High Fidelity, the John Cusack, Jack Black movie. Yeah, that's what it's like. Yeah, so that was kind of cool. And what's interesting is like all these stories I'm going to tell you like took place around in 3 aisles. 3 aisles of Walmart. All right, so I stopped looking at the records. I started walking down towards the book section. And I'm walking towards the book section, I start hearing this noise, right? And it's the only thing I could really describe it is caterwauling. It was caterwauling. It was a strange noise. So I walk past the book aisle, and there are these two chonky black girls sitting there, and they're singing some R&B song I've never heard of, or maybe I have heard it before. It was just so awful I couldn't tell what it was. And they're just doing all the vocalizing and saying, singing back and forth each other, and it's awful. It's awful. So I would say I want to look at the books, but these girls in this aisles, and I don't want to like squeeze down past them, and because I know I'd have to say something. So instead, I walked back to another aisle, where all the gift cards are and stuff like that. And so I'm just sitting there, like staring blankly at this wall of gift cards, listening to this noise these girls are making, and it's so awful. I'm just standing there giggling. I'm staring at one of these cards, just giggling at the what I'm hearing. And then out of the side of my eye, I see this lady coming down with a cart, and she sees a madman standing in the aisle, staring at a $10 Roblox card, giggling his head off, and she's looking at me like, this guy is clearly crazy. He's clearly a madman. Then she gets closer to me, closer to the side of where you can start hearing the sound waves coming around the corner, and she hears that noise that they're making, and she makes this kind of face, says, "Ooh." I'm sitting there giggling. I'm trying not to laugh too loud because these girls are just going off. Finally, they stop and they move on to another aisle. And so I go into the book aisle. I'm looking at the books for a little while. I'm looking at the books, and you know how it is when you're looking at books. You know, you're kind of like this, your head leaned to the side, looking at the spines. And I'm moving down. I get down to the end of the aisle, which is close to the back wall of the Walmart. And I'm around, and I hear a conversation come from around the corner, and I'm looking at these books, and I hear this guy saying, "Oh, okay, you're going over to the grocery side now? Okay, I want to go look over here at the price of something real quick. I'll catch up with you. All right, okay." And out of the corner of my eye, I see this guy backing up from the other aisle, and I see him there. He's backing up to, what was it, like pool tablets, the tablets to help clean your pool, chlorine tablets or whatever. And he backs up against this thing, and he rips a really good one, right? And he turns to go fan behind him, and that's when he sees me. And as soon as his eyes make contact with me, I say, "All clear." And we both laughed, and then he walked away nervously. So that's just something that happened within a 15-minute period at Walmart on Memorial Day weekend. And for those of you out there that are like, Target's better than Walmart and stuff like that, it's like, no, you'll never, ever have interactions like that at a Target. All right? Bunch of uptight people in a Target. Walmart is for real people. Anyway, so that's just a couple of little stories of my Memorial Day weekend that I wanted to share with you because they cracked me up. Hopefully they cracked you up. Now, you know how it is. I hate talking about dreams, but I'm going to talk about this one because I had a weird dream lately, this past week, about making a pact with the devil. I dreamed I made a pact with the devil for Superman powers. But the devil said, it's like, look, I'm not going to give you heat vision. I'm not going to give you X-ray vision. I'm not going to give you super breath because, I mean, you're going to be over OP as anyway. So I made a deal for Superman powers with the devil. And so the first thing I did, and hopefully the FBI won't get mad and start looking into me or anything like that because it's just a dream, all right? But the first thing I did is I flew straight up and then north towards Washington. And I flew right to the White House, landed right in front of the front door, kicked it in. I hear alarms sounding and stuff like that. And I just start walking through the White House, looking at the stuff on the walls, looking around and stuff like that. Secret Service guys are come running in. They're pointing guns at me and shouting and saying stuff. And I don't care. I have Superman powers. So eventually they start shooting at me. Bang, 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 bang. Shoot, pew, 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 pew. It's bouncing off my skin. You know, ricocheting everywhere, tearing up like these nice paintings. And so I'm yelling at these cops, you know, these Secret Service agents. It's like, hey, quit ruining the White House. I just want to take a look around. Then I get tired of looking around the White House. So I fly, you know, out of the White House, and then I keep flying north. I fly all the way to New York. I fly to Trump Tower, and I fly into the penthouse of Trump Tower, just busting through the window and just start walking around. Just taking a look. What's going on? And if security shows up, they're pointing guns at me, and I was like, don't do anything. You're going to ruin this place if you start shooting at me. They start shooting at me. Ricochets off. It's like, you're breaking all of Trump's stuff. He's going to be mad. It's not my fault. I didn't break the stuff. They're shooting at me. It's bouncing off me. You know, I'm not the one who's breaking it. And then I woke up. But, you know, it's like immediately after the dream, I start thinking, it's like, you know, that'd be the coolest thing about Superman powers is that you could go anywhere in the world and take a look around and no one could stop you. You know, if I wanted to fly to China and take a look at President Xi's palace and the jar of honey he eats his meals out of, you know, him, you know, pet Piglet and Kanga and Roo, because he looks like Winnie the Pooh. That's the joke. So my point is that no one could stop me. All his guys would come in there, point guns at me in Chinese. They're Chinese guns and yelling at me in Chinese. And I was like, I don't even understand you, but if you understand English, you better not shoot at me because you're going to break all this stuff. Anyway, so that was just a weird dream I had about being Superman. It's like, I think a lot of people have Superman dreams. I don't know. He's like the ultimate superhero, you know. The original. All right, I want to talk about a little bit about Laundry Day because after a long weekend, you got a lot of laundry, you know, a lot of towels that with sand in them and stuff, bathing suits and everything. So I had to do a laundry day, and I was thinking while I was doing my laundry about how I did laundry day in the Navy. In the Navy, I did like laundry once every 2 weeks, and everyone always made fun of me because I would sit with my laundry in the laundry room. All right. I was lucky. I never had to use the ship's laundry. I always had access to a barracks, and a barracks always has like laundry, washing and drying machines, you know, somewhere in the building that, you know, people can use to, wash their clothes. And so the ship's laundry was always a nightmare because it's everybody's stuff, and it's all like big industrial machines, or a single industrial machine. But at least, you know, if you had a barracks room, you know, you had that access to laundry, so you had single use, you know, washer dryers and stuff like that. And so I lived in 3 barracks while I was in the Navy, and 2 of them had like the laundry room was in the basement, and they weren't coin-op machines or anything like that. They're just regular washing machines. And so people would make fun of me because I'd always sit down there with my laundry, reading a book, you know, tending my laundry. And, you know, sometimes, you know, I'd be ironing, I'd be folding, you know, all this other stuff. And they'd make fun of me. They'd say, why don't you just, you know, drop it in the washer, turn it on, and come back in an hour when it's done? And I was like, no, because the most common rate in the Navy, this is a Navy joke, the most common rate in the Navy is FT. What does FT stands for? It stands for fucking thieves. All right. Now, let me tell you something. You know, every time I had to do laundry in the Navy, I would take some comic books or a book with me, and I'd go down there and I'd dump my laundry in there. And frequently I was alone in these rooms. I'm just reading my book as I'm waiting for the dryer to buzz or whatever like that. And not infrequently, in fact, maybe like once a month, this would happen where somebody would walk into the laundry room, see that I was there, and then immediately leave. All right. Now, what that tells me is that some thief thought he was going to get away with stealing something, realized I was in there. It's like, oh, I can't steal when there's somebody in the room, because every other idiot just drops their laundry off and leaves. All right. And then I had a friend that told me, it's like, hey, I went to the dryer to go pick up my clothes, and they're all gone. Somebody stole my whites. And I was like, your whites? You're talking about your tidy whities and your white shirts that have the brown stains? It's like, yeah. They have my name stenciled on them. And they stole my underwear and my dirty t-shirts. And I'm just like, that's why I sit in there with my laundry, because of these thieves. They are so demented. Or lazy. They don't want to spend their, because you get a uniform allowance. You get money every year to buy and maintain your uniforms. So instead they'll just pocket that money and then go steal somebody else's underwear from the laundry room. Twisted people. And I don't want to sound like a racist or something like that, but every single guy that, you know, was stealing stuff, or I thought was stealing stuff, was a white guy. Weird white guy. And and you'd say, it's like, who's that weird guy? And it's like, yeah, it's like, was he one of the guys that came in there? Yeah. Yeah. He's that guy. He's that guy who would sit there in the barracks room with 3 other guys in it and sit there watching hardcore pornography, saying, you guys want to watch this with me? No. That's not how pornography is supposed to be watched. Anyway, so I was thinking about laundry day and how much easier it is for me nowadays. I don't have to worry about thieves. The bonus part is the good thing about doing this, going and maintaining my laundry, is when I started meeting people. And so I'd be sitting there, I'd be reading a comic book or something like that. Somebody come up and is like, oh, you like the X-Men? And it's like, no, it's a tired metaphor about racism and bigotry and, and this is, late 90s, early aughts and stuff like that. And I was tired of all this woke stuff even back then. And so I was like, I don't really like the X-Men. It's just I haven't read this one yet. Or I'd be sitting there reading a source book for a role-playing game, and they're like, oh, what's that? How do you play that? And then we'd end up sitting there making up a character. Next thing I know, I'm doing a game mastering campaign for Heroes Unlimited with like 8 guys in the barracks lounge on a Saturday, drinking whiskey and cokes, and fighting with superpowers. Anyway, it's just something I was thinking about yesterday when I was doing the laundry. And so, yeah, that's that. I got one more thing I want to talk about before we get into the news worth knowing, and we'll go through the news quickly. So this is just a preface for the news worth knowing. So I cannot express enough how sad and angry I have been feeling over this past holiday weekend. Mostly, I was concerned about this most recent shooting in Texas, and as I'm sure you have been as well. It's super depressing and infuriating, but it seems like the media is focused on all the wrong things, and now our beloved president is even focusing on the wrong things and saying that a 9mm can blow organs out of a human body. No. These are the wrong solutions and the wrong focus. The souls of the victims cry out for justice, obviously, and pulling a Trudeau is not how we're going to get that. That's not how we're going to get justice. I think about this shooter, and it makes me so sad. Were there no friends or family that noticed his odd behavior and felt a need to tell someone? A teacher, a priest, a cop? Especially if he's messing with dead cats, cutting his face, or threatening people online? Were there no positive male role models in his life to help him learn how to channel his masculine energies? Or was he simply taught all throughout his public education that anything masculine is toxic, which only made him more angry and disenfranchised? And where did he get those expensive weapons? The feds? Is it too QAnon for me to even think such a thing is possible? Fine. Maybe the issue is credit. I remember turning 18 and every single credit card company trying to get me buried in debt as soon as possible. Is it even worse these days? Could any 18-year-old get 5 to 10K in credit in order to splurge on anything they want? 18-year-olds are notoriously bad with money. I sure was. And so maybe it's morally irresponsible to give dumb kids access to that kind of money because they never make wise decisions. And at worst, they could do what this asshole did. Now, I'm not trying to sympathize with this killer, but I do think that there are failures in his community to spot trouble before it gets too big to handle. I feel sad and angry also when I think about the cops at the school that day, milling around the parking lot, putting up police tape during an active shooter situation. They don't have the guts to go in and face a shooter, but they do have the guts to stun and handcuff distraught parents, telling them that they need to go in and stop this thing. And sure, I imagine the senior police officer on the scene was concerned about how the press would cover this, and no doubt they knew the press was going to cover it, so they didn't want to make the department look bad, especially when cops are so hated these days in the press, and the ACAB and the BLM, and all these things are running through their heads, and it made them pensive. They got caught up in overthinking what they needed to be doing and ended up doing nothing. If I were a cop on that scene, I don't know if I could live with myself by doing nothing in that situation. I don't know why the first cop on the scene wasn't running inside without waiting for an order to do so. Did someone say over the radio something like, "No one go inside without the captain's approval"? If so, those people need to be fired. You're not cut out to be cops, because sometimes you have to act without making sure all the proper forms are filled out beforehand. I'm angry at those cops for failing at their duties. But let's face it, police have been treated like shit for the last 5+ years and vilified in the media, so maybe their mindset was, fuck you all right back. I'm not dying to save any of you. Obviously, that's the wrong attitude, and I'm not trying to excuse the inaction of the cops. But just like the shooter, I'm trying to consider their perspective so that I can understand what happened and understand where it all fell apart. Most of all, my heart breaks for the families of these victims and the lives that have been shattered by this awful event. And even among the victims, there's probably a split between people blaming the guns in America for the deaths and the people who wonder why there was not a person with a gun to stand between their kids and this murderous lunatic, or any murderous lunatic who may wander in off the street. Not even a locked door. I have been keeping these people in my prayers, but the media and the leftists are screaming that they are sick of our prayers. And that's because they are godless pagans who think people like me are crazy for believing in an invisible man in the sky. They fail to understand that all of our laws and freedoms are born from a Judeo-Christian morality and law. They need Jesus, and they need to pray more. This shooter needed Jesus and needed to pray more. Those cops needed Jesus and needed to pray more. There are clearly many breakdowns in our culture and society that resulted in this awful event. Godlessness being forefront in my mind. A lack of care in a community that allowed this sick and hurting young man to go off the deep end. A lack of duty and honor in the police force. Anyway, this is depressing me too much. End rant. Let's go ahead and get into the news worth knowing, and we'll go over it quickly because it's bumming me out. So Uvalde hero Border Patrol agent speaks about complete chaos and when he's rushing in to save the students. So hopefully you've heard about this hero, the one guy who did something. I gotta mute it. Forgot to mute it. Anyway, so the heroic Border Patrol agent who rushed into Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, last week spoke to Fox News on Tuesday. Border Patrol agent Jacob Alvarado was off duty, he told the Ingram Angle, as Uvalde lies about 80 miles from the Coahuila border town of Piedras Negras. Alvarado said he recently left an engagement to get his hair cut near the school and recounted soon hearing word of the shooting from his wife, Tricia, who is a teacher at Robb, whom he later said narrowly escaped the shooter. She texted him, Tricia Alvarado texted her husband, "There's an active shooter. Help. I love you." And what did he do? Agent Alvarado procured his barber's shotgun and raced on foot to the school. Can you imagine anything more America than that?
In Texas.
In Texas. You know?
Hey, we're going to need to cut the shave short.
Cut the shave short. It's like, you got to... Hey, barber, you got a shotgun? Of course. This is Texas. So he went on to say, it's like, I just announced who I was and I made my way towards my wife's room. This is after he got into the school. I just saw a whole bunch of kids running off campus, jumping through the windows, and cops breaking windows. He described the scene as complete chaos, pretty much, adding that he was finally able to speak to his wife on the phone after she escaped the classroom and joined others who fled to a nearby funeral home. While his wife had escaped, Jacob Alvarado said he was also concerned about his daughter, Jada, who is a student at Robb. Jada Alvarado was reportedly locked in a bathroom while a law enforcement tactical team was forming to enter the school wing where Ramos was holed up. Anyway, so this guy's a hero. He's a one guy who did what he was supposed to do. All these other cops were getting ready, and this guy goes in. So God bless him for doing the right thing. And go to this next story because the news is bumming me out today. Maybe it's the heat. It's over 90 degrees. I've been sweating like crazy. Okay, it's the heat. It's hot. It's hot in here. Anyway. Texas state senator on Uvalde shooting. Every agency at that scene should be taking heat. A Texas state senator whose district includes Uvalde told Fox News on Tuesday that every police agency that responded to the Robb Elementary School shooting, quote, should be taking heat for their actions. Roland Gutierrez, a Democrat, made the comment on America's Newsroom as law enforcement continues to be criticized for not confronting 18-year-old gunman, I'm not going to say his name, sooner during last week's mass shooting. Texas Department of Public Safety Director Stephen McCraw suggested Friday that the delay was because the on-scene commander at the time believed it had been transitioned from an active shooter to a barricaded subject. Quote, he's taken a lot of heat for sure, but I think that every agency at that scene should be taking heat, Gutierrez said Tuesday. Listen, active shooter protocols say you go in. We are putting it all on the local cop and the 6 cops beneath him. Gutierrez said that he asked McCraw for more answers regarding the police response to the shooting, which ultimately left 19 children and 2 teachers dead. Quote, I want to know when each officer was there and whatever law enforcement entity and where they were situated. he told America's Newsroom. I'm also looking for the manuals for those agencies to determine this notion of officer and operational control. And he goes on to like state more stuff. He's a Democrat, so I want to know how many weapons they had. I want to know how many bullets they had. You know, it's like I don't know. It's almost like accountants tend to be Democrats or something. Nerd, number crunching nerd. And so I mean, my point is that God bless reasonable Democrats who are say, hey, we want to see where the failures are instead of just immediately parroting the line is like, oh, it's guns. If we got rid of guns, this stuff will never happen again. No, it's like what Tim Pool posted something. It's like wolf attacks sheep. Sheep says like, oh, the wolf had teeth, so the sheep all get rid of their teeth, but the wolf still has teeth. And you know what I mean? And it's silly. Anyway, let's talk about Biden for a little bit. Biden doesn't support ban on handgun sales, White House press secretary says. So every time Biden says something, the White House press secretary has to spin it. So Karine Jean-Pierre on Tuesday said President Biden does not support a ban of sale of all handguns as lawmakers continue to feel pressure to do something following a series of tragic mass shootings. Jean-Pierre stated Biden's position in response to a question from Fox News' Peter Doocy about whether the president would support legislation similar to Canada that would implement a national freeze on handgun ownership in that country, Canada. Crazy Canada. Quote, this is what she said. He supports a ban on the sale of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines and expanded background checks to keep guns out of dangerous hands, she said. He does not support a ban on a sale of handguns. On Monday, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a bill to freeze handgun ownership following the thing that didn't even happen in his country. What this means is that it'll no longer be possible to buy, sell, transfer, or import handguns anywhere in Canada, Trudeau said at a press conference. We recognize that the vast majority of gun owners use them safely and in accordance with the law, but other than using firearms for sport shooting and hunting, there is no reason anyone in Canada should need guns in their everyday lives. That same day, Biden appeared to suggest that a 9mm can be characterized as high caliber and should be banned. Remarks came outside the White House before his trip to Uvalde. Okay, so here's the quote that Biden said, which is hilarious. They said a .22 caliber bullet will lodge in the lung, and we could probably get it out. May be able to get it out and save the life. A 9mm bullet blows the lung out of the body. End quote. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You know, it's funny because all these people who are like anti-gun, they have no idea. They have no understanding of guns whatsoever. That's why they keep saying, well, we need to ban assault weapons. It's like, you don't understand. It's like any weapon could be an assault weapon. You know what I have on my keychain? I have what is called a Kubaton. It's a simple, like, basically steel rod. It's used for, like martial arts holds and stuff like that. And you can like break a window with it if you need to, punch through it if you need to. And that could be an assault weapon. You know what I'm saying? Anything could be an assault weapon in the right hands, you know? But the idea that a 9mm can blow, 9mm is like the second smallest. Like 22 is smaller, you know? And I think there might be 8mm. I don't know. Or am I thinking about film? I'm thinking about film. Never mind. 9mm is like one of the lowest calibers that you have. If I had an everyday carry pistol, it wouldn't be a 9mm. I'd want a 40 or a 45, just because single stack 45 is very comfortable to wear and concealed carry. But they're trying to paint this narrative that like, oh, 9mm is like so bad, it's so good, blow lungs out of the body. It's like, no, maybe a like 40 that has like a hollow point, which I think are legal for most people to own, could have something like that happen, maybe. But at the same time, it's like, they just don't have the muzzle velocity of like a rifle. The shooting was with a rifle. And you're talking about 9mm handgun ammo. These people have no idea about anything about firearms. They're just idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. So that's why you need to ignore them. All right. Let's get a little bit into some foreign affairs. So, while you're spending crazy amounts of money for your gas, here's the Biden administration to send multiple launch rocket systems to Ukraine in the $40 billion aid package. So they have the multiple launch rocket system known as HIMARS, High Mobility Rocket System. They have a range 83 to 185 miles based upon the kind of artillery rockets and mobile platforms being used. But there are also wheeled versions of the MLRS that fire 6 missiles and are tracked vehicles that also fire 12 missiles. So we're straight up giving them weapons now, along with the $40 billion in aid as our inflation, as we are shooting inflation straight up. And when inflation affects the United States and affects the rest of the world, what a mess they're making. What an awful, awful mess. Anyway, the approval comes after President Biden said Monday that the U.S. would not send rocket systems to Ukraine, and that could potentially reach into Russia. Though he was referring to longer range attack cams, ATACMS, I think, ATACMS. I don't know what they're called, which have a range of 185 miles. The Pentagon reportedly plans to send the shorter range missiles, but these are still longer than what the Ukrainians are currently using to fend off Russia's military. The new HIMARS are expected to be announced tomorrow, fires at a range about twice that of the current M777 howitzer. Biden has ruled out sending longer range missiles out of fear of escalating the war in Ukraine. Well, we don't want to give them the best grenades. We're going to just give them grenades, the regular grenades. We give them the old grenades. Anyway, U.S. lawmakers passed a nearly $40 billion bill earlier this month that will aid Ukraine in its fight against Russia. Aid package includes military, economic, and humanitarian assistance for Ukraine. Yeah. So, I think Ukraine owes us big time. Anyway, let's get in these two happier news stories, and then we'll get out of here for the week, because I'm sweating like a whore in church. All right. West Virginia high schooler donates books to children in need across the state. If you asked West Virginia high schooler Raina Zuri what a book desert is, she would tell you it's a region in the world where books are very hard to obtain. She would also tell you that it's a problem that she is trying to tackle one book at a time. Zuri told Fox News that she had become very familiar with the concept because her grandparents grew up in a very small villages in India and Uganda where they had no access to books or libraries. Truly the epitome of a book desert, the Morgantown High School junior said. However, after setting up a small library for migrant children in Palm Beach County, Florida a few years ago, she realized it was a problem in the United States as well. Zuri created a nonprofit, the Literary, Literary Society, to make sure children in need have access to books. Students have shown that just one book can make a huge impact on the literacy development, Zuri said. The organization's mission is to promote the love of reading among children aged 3 to 5 that come from disadvantaged families or live at or below the poverty line. Children at this age are too young to check out a book at the library themselves, and the families don't necessarily have the disposable income to go out and buy a book, according to Zuri. During the holiday season from November through December, the organization held a book drive with Barnes & Noble where it received nearly 1,200 new books for children in need. They took 800 of these books, which were for preschoolers, and handed them out to every child in Head Start programs in 3 counties. The rest were given out to their older siblings and parents. Head Start is a federal program that serves preschool children that come from low-income families. However, Zuri has no plans of stopping there. Her goal is to give out a new book to every child in Head Start programs throughout the entire state. In March, she launched the West Virginia Head Start Road Tour, traveling to 22 separate Head Start centers and classrooms throughout the state. By April 1st, she had reached her goal, passing out more than 6,770 books to every child and their teachers with the help of her team. It was unforgettable, she said. Most of the children, they didn't have any books at home, so this was something that was desperately needed. To help fund it, Zuri used to donate her entire allowance she collected since 2nd grade. Wow. And she received numerous donations. In June, Zuri and her organization plan to embark on a similar effort in New York, Virginia, and California. They're getting bigger. Also plans for a bigger Head Start tour this summer. Zuri plans to donate books to every child in Head Start programs throughout Appalachia. We can make a difference, this is a quote, We can make a difference in ending a book desert, especially in America, by giving one high-quality book to a child in need, Suri said. So you give them, like, War and Peace. Here you go, kid. Read that. One day she hopes her efforts become a national movement called One Book at a Time. That's good. Kids need to be reading more these days. I wish I could get my niece to read more. I still don't know. I still don't know if she's old enough for me to like loan her my comic books. I don't know if she'll take care of them, first of all. Second of all, I don't know if her mother would want her reading some of that stuff. Because it can get kind of heavy, you know? It can get kind of heavy in some of those comic books, especially more modern ones. All right, one more story. Gold Star parents launch Operation 300 in honor of son whose life was lost in Afghanistan. A Gold Star family is going the extra mile to help families who have suffered a similar loss, launching a program to engage Gold Star children in honor of their son Aaron, who died serving in Afghanistan. Gold Star parents Billy Vaughn and Karen Vaughn joined Fox and Friends Weekend Sunday and to discuss how they're using their organization, Operation 300, to help children who have lost parents while serving. After when Aaron died, he left behind two little babies, a son who was not quite 2 years old and a daughter that was only 9 weeks old, Karen told co-host Pete Hegseth. So his widow kept asking us, who's going to teach my children to do things Aaron would have taught them to do, which spawned an idea. And our family and our daughter Tara and Billy actually just incorporated the idea and turned it into a reality. We would host weekend-long adventure camps for kids whose dads had died during the war, paired them up with fathers, 8 male mentors, and let them spend a week just doing things that they would have done with their dad if he were still here. She continued. It has grown exponentially through the years. Per the organization's website, their mission statement is to provide mentorship to children of the fallen, honor the sacrifice of those who have given all for our freedom, and promote patriotism and service. The nonprofit was inspired by Aaron Carson Vaughn, who died on August 6, 2011, on the deadliest day in SEAL Team 6 history when a Chinook helicopter was shot down in Afghanistan. Quote, it's really hard to put into words when we've lost so many brave men and women, Billy said. So many families affected forever. U.S. I don't want to talk about the withdrawal. That's just going to make me mad. This is the first Memorial Day in 20 years that we haven't had our sons and daughters at war on the soil in Afghanistan or in Iraq, Karen said. This is a sacred Memorial Day, and as a nation, we just need to pause and think about what this means post-war. Fair enough. And it's good, it's good that, they take the time, help these kids, and do dad stuff with them. Go camp and go fishing and stuff like that, because kids need that. They really do. All right. I'm a little angry. I want to remind you again, go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron. I would appreciate that very much. And hopefully next week we won't have any technical issues and there won't mess up my rhythm. Yeah. So no updates. It's like first of the month, you're going to get the updates. I also have Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio. All one word. I'd appreciate that. Follow me on social media. At Denalasaw on Twitter. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, and at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. I also have books for digital download on Amazon.com. Follow the links down in the description. This has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.